So Robbie, have you told Glenn the good news yet?
Oh, okay, so I get really motion sick.
Oh shit, what?
So no throwing up in the plane?
No, you can't do that.
It almost seems cliche to ask the question, who is Glen Eberle? You know, you could almost frame the question differently. Like, what has Glen Eberle done? Actually, when you think about it, maybe the question actually needs to be, what hasn't he done? You know, you could look at Glen and you could say he has many, many loves in his life. Being an Olympian, being a CEO of a well-established company, his love for hunting. But I would say that his greatest love is flying. Explain the three circles. Eberlestock has these three circles.
Sure.
What are the three circles?
In 1985, I was on the United States biathlon team, and the rifle stocks in use at the time were typically just target rifles. They were heavy wooden stocks that broke easily if you fell on them in a ski race, and the rifles were heavy because people thought you had to have a heavy gun to shoot accurately after you've been ski racing. And so, but for me, the issue was that they broke easily. I didn't have a lot of money. I was an American college kid and decided to go into the student workshops at Dartmouth College and see if I could make a better rifle stock. I intended to make a better rifle stock. And so I made my first stock in 1985. And when I did it, I was looking for ways to lighten it. And so if there were structural places where I could take wood out by putting holes into them, I did so. And so the first rifle stock I made, I put 3 holes into the vertical member in the butt of the rifle, and I liked the way that looked, and that became sort of my secret motif.
I think we've got an example of that right here. So you got 3 circles.
Do you want me to start over?
No, keep going. Your
okay,
motif.
So the 3 circles in the butt of the rifle became my kind of private motif, and for the first one I made for myself, but in my mind's eye, that was a lucky symbol, and so I always put those 3 circles into the rifle stocks that I made, and in later versions of other types of rifle stocks, I always had even 3 dimples or 3 circles in some place on the stock to indicate my sort of personal trademark. But for me, it was the lucky rings, and then later, when I was trying to figure out what I was going to name this gear company that I had in my head, first of all, I had this unique history with rifle stocks and realized that the Eberle stock in a very small corner of the world was a meaningful thing, and I decided to use the Eberlestock company that it once had been and combine the Eberlestock word into one word. The 3 rings, which we call the lucky rings, became sort of the baseline part of the Eberlestock logo, and it's a good story because along the way we really apply the motif of luck. We have fun with it, but we also mean it. You know, you go out into the wilderness by yourself, or you're a military guy going into a fight. You know, luck is a good thing, and we embrace it and apply it and expect it. A guy was looking at one of my rifle stocks when I made the biathlon rifle stock, German guy, and he looked at it and he goes, "It looks very American." And I'm like, damn right it does.
Glenn, is there something that you haven't done? You've been in the Air Force.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You've been a commercial pilot.
Yeah.
You started an outdoor industry company.
Yeah.
You beat cancer.
Yeah.
When you have to describe Glen Eberle, people have captured who he is in essentially 3 words: kind, humble, and tenacious. I don't know how to describe someone who told the world he had stage 4 cancer, prostate cancer, and then decided that he was going to live, that he was going to say, no, this thing is not going to beat me. This thing is not going to define me. And my legacy still has many things left to sort of check down the list. That's probably the definition of tenacity.
You know, I've always been fit and lived my life actively. Have the same body now that I had when I was 18, pretty much. Well, it's a little different right now, but 8 months ago I had the same body. And I went on a big adventure into Alaska last year, carrying heavy loads with young men half my age, and held my own. So I was still tough, but I came out of that hunt kind of sore and feeling, you know, not myself. And I thought I'd heal. I thought it was sciatica, so I was waiting for that to get better, and I waited a little too long. It turned out about 4 months later, I finally went to the doctor, and after an MRI, he looked at me and he said, "Hey, it's not sciatica, man. You've got something growing in your bones." And I knew what that meant. He didn't use the word cancer, but I was like, oh, geez, you know, just in a moment, my life changed. And it was interesting. That moment of perception was a moment of clarification for me. I sat there and was just stunned, as you'd expect, but not saddened at all. I just embraced it right in the moment. I said, okay, well, you know, I've had the best life of anybody I've ever known. I'm the luckiest guy I've ever known, more blessed than anybody I've ever known. And so this is just, I mean, the doctor was looking at me like it's the end, get ready to die. So I was like, okay, I'm good with God. I'm ready to die. That's fine. And it's weird, though, to have been in this place where I had, let's say, 90 days. If I did nothing, I'd have been dead in 3 months. And so that kind of realization brings you to a different place than I'd ever been. And it was really interesting for me to go, okay, you know, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow?
We talked about it earlier, right? It's so strange that you need to have events in your life like that.
Yeah.
To give you clarity to what's important.
Yeah. It is, because the weird thing about humans is we take things for granted, no matter how much we say we're not going to. You know, we live like this is a permanent situation. Like things that are less important than they are more important than they are. And people just, you know, spend a lot of time on nonsense that if they really treasured life and thought about the fact that each day is the one you've got, each moment, you know, live in the moment, literally. I think a lot of people would do things differently. You know, be more generous, more compassionate, more patient. You know, those are things that I've just decided to employ. You know, and with appreciation for the fact that I'm aware of it, that I can, you know, make that choice.
Well, since you've never fished this river a lot.
Never fished it a lot.
Do you know where the fish are? Because I can hear fish
go
plopping
for the
around.
holes. I mean, there's definitely going to be a fish in, you know,
They were they were nibbling on our toes earlier today.
Yeah. Well, you might have chased them out there when you're swimming.
You missed one? Yeah. All right, I got it. Hey! You on? Yep. Nice.
I'm fortunate to have lived a life where I've made a lot of impact in the world, and you know, it's really been cool. But when I realized that, you know, life is short, and I realized how short it was, regardless of how far out into the future it went, I decided that I would, you know, really try to start living well intentionally every day.
This ranch, this was your parents' ranch.
Yeah. My dad had active cattle ranches throughout his time in Idaho since the mid-70s, and a bunch of them, or a few of them. And when he retired from active cattle ranching, he decided to get kind of a retreat in inholding, and so he chose the Cook Ranch, which was a good choice because it's a special place, far from anything, and very private.
So you actually,
sanctuary.
you as a young kid didn't work the Cook Ranch, you worked other ranches.
Yeah.
And this is almost like your retreat.
Yeah, well, in some ways though, the nice thing is I'm more connected to my history here than I think anywhere else. You know, my parents bought this when I was an adult, but coming out here and finding things, like there are things in the cabins that, little things, the salt and pepper shakers that you used when you were, 5. Coming across things like that out here was pretty cool. And then these tractors, of course, is one of those things where you just go, takes you back and makes me, I feel connected to my parents here quite a lot. And then also, the funny thing about this place is there's always work to do. You're constantly, looking at the next thing that fell over and fixing it. And a lot of those projects that I take up here were things last touched by my father, and so I often feel like I'm working with him out here, which is pretty cool. Along the way, I lost all my hair and things went to heck, and I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, who's this old man looking back at me? And all this has happened now in 8 months, and I went from expecting to die in shorter order than I otherwise would have, to looking at a longer horizon, to now saying, you know what, I'm done with cancer. I think I beat it. I know I beat it, and I know that it's not a burden, and I'm not living with it. So that now brings me to a place where, after only 8 months, I've gone through this remarkable transition, this crazy evolution and expectation, to a place where I go, you know what, I'm going to live a while, but I'm going to live differently still. I do feel like part of my purpose is to message to people, to tell, men and women both, that they should go to the doctor, get your checkups, get your PSA checked if you're a man, all your checkups for those sorts of things, because a lot of people are going to get cancer, and and a lot of people are scared of it. I wasn't, but I think that I was helped by the fact that, first of all, I have good faith in God. I feel like my purpose on earth has been fulfilled to some degree, but also maybe there's still a good stretch in front of me where I have further purpose. I shouldn't say maybe. Now I've come to really believe that that's the truth. And at the same time, if I think anybody that found themselves in that position, as many will, could just look at it and go, okay, this is a fact. I'm not going to change it by worry. I'm not going to improve it by worry. I'm going to improve it by healthy thinking, positive thoughts, expecting to heal rather than be sick, and having faith that this is my expected and proper journey, and I'm going to beat it. And then, in my case, I beat it. So now I want to tell people that that's something that they should expect. You don't go into this going, oh, the doctor told me I'm going to die, so I'm going to die. People that do that die. They told me I'm going to die. I've heard some people live through this. How do they do that? And I started looking at that, and then I made that my expectation for myself, and it was just this wonderful process to go through. And now I feel like I'm in a place where I won't say every day is a 10, but most are, and I am still richly blessed. I've made changes that I wouldn't have expected to make in my life, and I'm excited about what tomorrow brings.
How do you capture all of that in a description of a man? Kind to the people around him, kind to the people that he serves, kind to the community that he builds products for. Humble, because if you see him, he's constantly got a smile on his face, he's constantly chuckling, he's constantly looking around at the world now with a clarity of vision, because he decided to beat this thing that typically puts people 6 foot under the ground. And then you wrap that all in this descriptor of tenacity, this thing that just pushes and drives someone
Good, a little chewy,
to a place that says, I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to stop innovating. And I'm never going to stop investing in the people around me. Just look at his company. Just look at the people that work for him. Their mentality, their ethos, all of it. You can feel it, it's tangible.
Glenn, in that response to me, you said you have an idea of the impact that you've had on people. Do you really?
Well, is that the question?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, yes and no.
I'll stop you and say, I don't think you know.
Oh.
I want to show you a video.
Hey, Glenn.
Hold it.
Ah,
My good
jeez.
friend Glenn. I was asked about 6 weeks ago what Glen Eberle meant to me personally and to the industry that we work in. And although I haven't known Glenn more than a year, I can tell you that he means a tremendous amount to me, and I'll tell you why.
Glen Eberle, the mad scientist, a cartoon character at times. How you've lived your life and how you've poured into people and how you've attacked the challenges in front of you with that little goofy little laugh and the smile on your face and just getting after it. Super inspiring, man.
But most importantly, I just wanted to talk to you and say thank you for your friendship. It's been an amazing ride that the two of us have taken, kind of crossing paths here and there.
And here's this picture of humility and kindness.
You know, I look at, again, your attitude of how you go through things and go through the trials, the ones you're currently going through that I know you're going to get through. And it makes me want to be better myself because I see how tough you are and see how much you care.
So he surrounds himself with similar human beings, similar paths, similar goals.
Everything that you've done has been incredible, and none of it should be a surprise to us, especially up until the most recent events here with cancer and the news that you got, you know, after your trip to Alaska. And quite honestly, so many of us were concerned and obviously really scared that we were maybe potentially going to lose you way too early. And in just a matter of months, you absolutely crushed cancer, which should be no surprise to any of us. And how dare any of us have ever been even worried about you.
One day, long time from now, the Lord decides to take one of us. I know that the other one will say, that was a heck of a party, and we're going to keep going because that's what the other one would have wanted. And that's a long time from now. We got a lot of living for then.
So, Glenn, if you ever get to see this, I hope you know how special it is to be kind, humble, and tenacious. It's talked about a lot, but you don't see it very often, so thank you.
I'm a fan. I really am. I love you, brother, and I hope that this video finds you well, and I hope that we get to hang out soon. Love you, man.
And I hope we get a few more hunts together down the road.
I love you, brother, and see you soon.
Wow, that was unexpected. Bastard.
Kind.
Now you get me all teary-eyed.
Kind, humble, and tenacious.
Well, that's really special. Thanks for Robbie for, I mean, what an unexpected, tribute. I don't expect tribute, and that was beautiful because it was from people who made it, from good friends. It's neat that's a really cool reminder of the present moment and the people in my world, both at Eberlestock and in my peer companies, and I won't say I take them for granted because I don't, but I look at them all with sort of a personal amount of awe, and I'm a person with humility, as John just said. It's true, and I'm really glad for that. I'm grateful for it. If ever there's a gift that a productive person should be given, it's humility, because it helps keep things in balance. And I think coming from that place where I tend to not think of myself and don't really want to in that way, cool to have those guys let me know that I meant something to them. That's special, and I do appreciate it. My name is Glen Eberle. I lived life to the fullest, and I intend to keep doing so. Everyone has their own story. This is mine. It's in the blood. Did I do it?
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah, like you know those like marathon walkers. Like,
Yeah.
So should I put the music on for him?
yeah, 100%. We need like our fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
If you want to do a pirouette halfway to the plane, you
Show us
by
again
all
how
means.
you're supposed to walk.
Not no shorts, no.